Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Hope everybody's well. Hope you had a fab weekend, and I hope your week is going well so far. So, how the devil is everybody? I hope some of you had a fab weekend at the UK Games Expo. I know there were a lot of you around, those that I did get to see and those that I didn't. More on that later. We'll be chatting a bit about the Expo weekend and what I saw and what I didn't see. For reasons. We'll obviously be chatting about Shatterpoint. Shatterpoint is launched this weekend. It is here. I have it in my hands. The size of the box is huge. It is massive. Even. I've started building mine already. I've got a couple of expansions that I've not opened yet, but I'm planning to kind of leave them to get to once I've built and painted everything. I did manage to build everything. I finished a bit of that off today. Let me just get comfortable here. I did manage to build everything from the core box. So all of the miniatures and all of the terrain. We'll come on to that later on. So the plan is to start getting some paint on it now. And we'll also be chatting about everybody's May painting submissions as well. It was the deadline for it yesterday. I don't know if you managed to sneak in under the wire. But yeah, we've got everyone's painting submissions tonight, and of course we'll be chatting about all the lovely things that you want to chat about as well. I did get to spend some time with VJ this weekend. We sat and had a good old natter on Saturday night, and we were chatting a bit about the streams and stuff. And there are times when I can't think of anything to talk about really, and it was interesting to just chat to somebody face to face and talk about the streams and try and see them from your side of things as well, like as a viewer, because I get a little bit, I'm in this room on my own, I'm looking at the camera, it's not like talking face to face to people, and it's quite interesting to kind of have that conversation back and forth, and so yeah, like the streams are yours as much as they are mine, so we'll talk about what you want to talk about. Even if I can't think of anything to talk about, I'm sure you've all got some interesting stuff to talk about. So yeah, we will definitely be cracking on. Let's see who we've got in the chat this evening. We've got Super Pumpkin Man was in nice and early. He was in 3:25 this afternoon. Nice to see you in, mate. Clyde Dashing, nice to see you. We also got Tasty Brain Drain, Type 40 TARDIS. Good evening, gents. We've got Andrew Cookin as well from the cold and dark future. He said it's winter down under and not quite daylight at 8 a.m. And he says not that winter started badly down under. We had 21 degrees C on the first day. We're looking for our summer hits 21 degrees C, mate. We've also got Blizzards in tonight as well. Hello to you, VJ. Hello there over in Athens, mate. He's doing the European tour. He's like National Lampoon at the minute. Nice to see you. And he's asking how everyone is. Hello to Dan Pillow as well. Hello, Major Tom. How you doing, Ed? VJ saying, how are you feeling, mate? So we'll get onto it when we get to the UK Games Expo stuff. But I wasn't great over the weekend. I've been a bit up and down, shall we say, health-wise. So I did miss chunks of the weekend, but I'm kind of all right, mate. I'm still suffering, but I'm managing to sit here and you can crack on. So yeah, I'll be all right. Clyde saying, we hope we don't get blown away by the storm. John Shepherd, good evening to you, mate. We've got Tolmod Greybeard in. James Bray, nice to see you, mate, all the way there in Kensington. Look at you posh thing. Skullduggery's in. We got Warren Jones, good evening to you. We got Cardos Darkforge saying hope everyone's well and hope the family are great. Family's well, mate. My wife's out today with work. I dropped her off this morning first thing. She's staying kind of she's not staying out overnight, but she went straight from meetings to go out for dinner with some work colleagues and some customers and stuff. So she's out. So there's just me and the boy in tonight. I've just took them into bed and said, unless it's an emergency, don't go to bed. So yeah, all should be good. Luke Pryor, how you doing, mate? Nice to see you as well. Wayne saying day 3 of building Shatterpoint. I managed to get mine done fairly quick, to be fair, and I'm not a quick builder, to be fair. Big Dave, hello to you. Colin Mack, good evening as well. How are you doing, fella? Colin Wakeland, good evening to you. Ed said he's building his right now. The core box is mental. Yeah, we'll chat about the kind of the quality and everything else in a bit. Zingbo, good evening to you, mate, as well. He says, hope you enjoyed Expo. despite interruptions from random weirdos. It was a kind of a weird one, that, mate, wasn't it? We're walking over from the hotel towards the expo, and I just heard someone go, Andy Burtis. It was like, oh, I heard someone say my name there, and it was you, Zingbo. How you doing, mate? Clyde saying, don't cross the streams. James Dom, hello, mate. He's saying it's been a while since he's caught a live stream. Nice to have you in. Good evening, Haxan, as well. Colin said he got his copy of Kings of War Martyr build. Very nice, mate. Hope you're enjoying it. Mordecai saying, looking forward to your thoughts on Shatterpoint. We'll get to that, mate. Yeah, we definitely will get into that night. VG saying there's one thing that we can do after a few beers is talk. To be fair, mate, I only had 3 pints on Saturday night, but yeah, it's nice to get the it's nice to sit down and chat to people face to face. That's for sure. Dave Mackay, hello to you. Robert Blake, good evening to you as well, mate. He's saying just subscribe. Thank you very much, Robert Blake. If anybody else is watching and hasn't subscribed, first of all, why the hell not? Secondly, subscriptions really do help. It gives you'd be surprised how it helps. It's a free way to help the channel, so yes, please do. Let's have a little look here. VG saying, yeah, table legs are in danger. And hind legs of donkeys, mate, as well. Chris Warden, good afternoon to you, mate. Gary Jensen saying, hope you're on the mend. Yeah, so, mate. I'm so. Busy's in as well. Says, good to see the stream back on. Hope it wasn't a dodgy burger from the expo that sent you under. It was a mixture of things, mate, but we won't go into details. Ryan Barry, happy Monday to you as well, fella. And Super Pokemon saying summer is in full swing, 100 degrees weather, and school is out for break. Yeah, we've been quite fortunate here. We've had some nice weather as well over the weekend. It was beautiful here at home as well, for my wife and the little one. But it was particularly nice weather down in Birmingham as well. So never a bad thing when we get a bit of sunshine for the Expo weekend. So, where do we start? Let's start having a bit of a natter and a chit-chat about the Expo, I think, before we get on the Shatterpoint stuff. So the Expo, yeah, for those that don't know, the United Kingdom, the UK Games Expo takes place once a year in Birmingham at the NEC, which is the National Exhibition Centre, right near Birmingham Airport. And it's on for 3 days, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And it is I'm led to believe the second biggest gaming convention in Europe, just behind Essen, and a little bit further behind by Gen Con. So I don't know. So it potentially could be the third biggest in the world, but it's certainly the second biggest in Europe. And yeah, it is. It's typically always been very board game focused, but over the years, more and more miniatures games are sort of make their way into this as well, as it becomes more tabletop focused. There's a lot more RPGs and card games and things, and also as board games and miniatures games start to kind of cross over more and more, there are a lot of board games with miniatures now. We're starting to see kind of a lot of that stuff coming through now. So if you're only a miniature gamer, the Expo is still a fantastic place to be. And it was absolutely rammed this weekend. It's good to see it back in full swing. A couple of years ago was the first one back after the COVID times, and it was a little bit like, I think people were a bit sort of, it might have actually been the first event, certainly was the first event in the UK, I think, like of big numbers to happen after all of the lockdowns and things, and people were a bit uncomfortable. I think a lot of companies weren't really sure whether they should attend or not. Last year it was starting to get back to normal. This year was absolutely kind of back in full swing. Absolutely, sort of jam-packed. And the Friday, especially this year, the Fridays are normally a little bit quieter. The Friday this year was absolutely heaving. VG saying that only one thing UK Games Expo could do with less of was dice sellers. Yeah, there is a lot of dice sellers, to be fair, mate. So I arrived on Thursday evening. There's a bit of a press event on a Thursday evening, although I kind of dipped in and dipped out of it. It seemed a bit more like a crazy car boot sale. So I'd kind of dipped out of the Thursday night, but I went back in with full sort of guns blazing on Friday morning and managed to have a good look around. Now I have got some photographs that I took here, so let me just open these up and I will show you around some of the photographs that I basically, if I go here. So yeah, there's a mixture of stuff in here. There's quite a lot here of this first one here. So the first person I went to see was Annie Norman at Bad Squiddo Games. Annie's been on my live stream before. We've had a chat together. She's a really lovely person I enjoy chatting to, and we'd never had a chance to meet face to face. So I said I would make a point of going to see her. First thing on the Friday is everybody's kind of piling in and going to exactly where they want to be, like they're bringing by and stuff like that. It's normally a little bit quieter, so I thought I'll do that first thing Friday. And actually getting to see her stand and getting to see the miniatures that she sells in the flesh, up close, seeing them nicely painted, I have a newfound respect for the stuff that Annie sells. The quality was absolutely fantastic. I don't mind admitting that there's sometimes when you look at pictures online, especially of like metal figures and things like that, they don't always look kind of as sharp as maybe they could do. But seeing them in the flesh and seeing them painted up really did show them off. So I've got a selection of pictures here just to kind of show you. It is Bad Squiddo Games. I had to start with the squids there, but these will be great, especially for things like Kings of War, Armada. I can see these working really well on the tabletop for them. I can see them working for a lot of different games as well, but they were cool. You can just see the kind of the sheer range and volume of miniatures that she does was on show, and it really just does show it off. A mixture of things like sort of cutie animal type things, realistic animals, lots of kind of female warriors and female soldiers and females in battle and stuff like that, which she's obviously really famous for, but also a real mixture of other stuff too. There's a few more bits and pieces that are sort of a bit more close up as well. So I mean, like, as you can see here, we've got everything from kind of like sort of farmers and sort of like World War II-esque stuff to carrots and potatoes there as well. So there's a real mix of bits and pieces. Here we've got some dinos in there as well. I mean, if I scroll in as well, you can see some of this stuff. But yeah, like I said, like, I haven't seen them firsthand. I really was kind of mightily impressed, and I don't mind saying that they were way better than I think I initially anticipated. Not that I ever thought they were bad, but you know what I mean. Again, as I said before, there's a mixture of stuff, little kind of genies in boxes, some awesome stuff for D&D, and some stuff that you can put in as a kind of like sort of NPCs into games and things as well. Some awesome stuff. And I think as well, I think it was this one I got a bit more of a close-up one. The quality of the paint jobs were fantastic as well, and just to see the range of stuff, like I said, there's so many cool bits and pieces. So yeah, so if you haven't checked out Bad Squiddo Games, I really would recommend you going and checking them out. And I'll put these pictures up online somewhere so you can go back and reference them as well. But it just shows you some of the cool bits and pieces and the things that were available. So that was, yeah, that's a better picture as well. That was Bad Squiddo Games. This just shows you, like, look at the mixture of stuff that we've got here. Like I say, it's hard to see all of these things on their website. But yeah, some really nice stuff. See maybe a bit slightly better quality picture there as well. Yeah. As you can see, I took quite a few pictures of her stuff there as well. So, yeah, that was Bad Squiddo Games. If you're not familiar with Bad Squiddo Games, that is them there. And if you've not seen Annie before, that was me and Annie. That was my first so that was my first meeting of the weekend. So I did get to see them. I also was chatting to... I'm going to have to rack my brains now. I'm sure the guy's name is Chris, who runs Fenris Games, and he was helping out Annie on the stall. And we had a really good sort of chit-chat and a bit natter about sort of his background in making film props and stuff like that, and the stuff that he makes in resin and his company Fenris Games. And I think at some point I'm going to get him onto the channel as well, whether it's a live stream or whether it's just a bit of an interview. Really interesting guy, had a load of time for him. If he hadn't been busy working on the stall, I could have quite happily sat and chatted with him all weekend, to be fair. So yeah, so we'll get him on the channel soon as well. From there, I did wander down at the hall. There was like Asmodee had a big Star Wars stand, And as you can see here, Star Wars Shatterpoint was being demoed there as well, along with some of their miniatures on display. But they actually had Sarastro, of YouTube fame, was sitting painting miniatures for Shatterpoint over the weekend as well. So he was kind of just finishing off getting set up when I first went over. So I did manage to say hello to him. But these were some of the stuff that he was painting that were in the cabinet, and the quality of his paint jobs are pretty special anyway. I'm sure you're all pretty familiar with them if you're into your miniature painting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to painting mine not quite as well as these. But yeah, they do look fantastic. Yeah, slightly better picture as well. I'm just kind of focused on the back ones there as well. I like what he's done with the kind of the bits of the trails of the flames and the smoke and stuff, and the little bits, even just the little bits of kind of battle damage around the edge of the armor, which is like dead easy to do, just picking out little bits of silver on the edges so they're not like perfect. But it's surprising the difference it makes just setting them off. So yeah, that was Sarastro. I then chatted to the guys from Lone Wolf. Now Lone Wolf is a company who do these I forget what the books are called. Is it the Kai series? Yeah, the Kai series of books. And they're a bit like sort of fighting fantasy books, choose your own adventure type things. And I think there's about 30-something books in this series. And I had a good chat with the guy on the stand. It turns out that he's moving to Newcastle in about 3 months' time. So we did make plans to kind of meet up when he's up in the area and stuff. And he did give me this Flight from the Dark, the first book in the series, to have a read through. Said he would love to see me do it on a live stream at some point. Because I mentioned we'd done some not Dungeons and Dragons. Sorry, we'd done some fighting fantasy streams and stuff like that. So yeah, so we'll have to get that set up. But they were also doing. They had these kind of little cool sort of items as well, and these little tokens and rings and things that went with the stories and the themes. But they were doing this. And I forget exactly what it was. It was some kind of how can I describe it? It's a bit like an RPG type thing, where like game, which is set in the Lone Wolf world. And I'm trying to wrap my brains now to get the details. I don't want to butcher it, but we said we would have a chat about it as well, and. Well, I'll bring you more information about this soon. But if you're into those books and the series of books, which I believe have been around for a long time, this was certainly creating a bit of interest as well. And they also had a miniatures game, which I believe was coming to Kickstarter very soon as well. And again, this was just sort of prototype, demo type stuff. But yeah, so this was quite interesting. So there was the 3 different kind of games, the 3 different sections, if you like, the books, the board game, and the miniatures game. All set in this Lone Wolf universe. Miniatures look very nice as well, as you can kind of see there. And yeah, like I say, I did kind of exchange details with the guy who was running this stall, and we'll catch up with them a little bit in the future as well. So yeah, something else to look forward to. I then went to chat to Tom up at Moonstone on his stall, and to see his miniatures in first hand as well, because I'd never really seen them close up. And again, like, they're kind of like, you know, they're whimsical, they're a bit very kind of fantasy sort of fairies and goblins and elves and that kind of things. If that's not your bag, then maybe these are not for you. But to see these things kind of painted up in the flesh was a real treat. And I had a good chat with Tom as well about Moonstone and about how it's doing, and like they're growing sort of they're growing so fast at the moment. He's managing to take a few staff on now, which until not that long ago he was kind of working part-time on this pretty much on his own, and kind of getting help from his dad and his mum to pack boxes and things like that. So it's amazing to see how much Moonstone's come on over the recent times, and I think it's getting to a point now where it's almost like they're selling out of stuff almost as quickly as they can get it back into stock again, which is a good thing. It's a good problem to have, but it also puts pressure on a growing company as well. So yeah, it's great to see Moonstone doing so well. And of course, they'd won the I think they'd won the Judges Award for Best Miniatures and Best Miniatures Rule Set. But over the weekend, they also won the public vote as well for the same two bit for the same two classes as well, the same two categories. So yeah, massive congratulations to Tom Greenwood and Greenway and Moonstone as well. But yeah, you can see that the minis look amazing, really really nice, and it was great to see them up close. Now I was also chatting to the folks from Dark Star paints, or molten metals as they're called, and they basically do a range of metallic paints, but the metallic paints looked really really nice. And this is something that actually I did mean to kind of try and pick some of these up, and for reasons that I'll go into later, I never managed to get to go back and to get them. But some of their metallic colours, if you're doing kind of getting into 40k for the new edition and you want to do some Space Marines with kind of those candy kind of like the candy reds metallic sort of armor and stuff, and you want to do them as quickly and as simply as possible, these would really really work. I mean, some of these greens are very Horus Heresy-esque in color as well. They covered really really well. You didn't need to put them over a kind of like a gloss like sort of primer or anything like that. These were all done over a matte black primer just to show off just how good the coverage was. But they only do these molten metal metallics, and I was really really impressed with the coverage. This was a box that they did which was their complete range of 40 paints. The box itself can hold up to 60 paints. There's space for 60 paints, but that just kind of left some space for future purchases and stuff, or any kind of dropper bottles that you already have. But yeah, they do the full range of 40 paints, and as you can kind of see here, they are 17mm bottles, water based. Stays bright and glossy, and it can be buffed to a high shine. And he did mention this, that you can actually kind of rub it, like you can kind of like polish the metallic paint as well, and it would shine even more as well. And it was certainly suitable through airbrushes. He basically said that all of the ones that they had on the stand were all done by hand to show how they would look, but they look even better through an airbrush kind of thing. So yeah, I thought those paints were pretty cool. Then I did pick up this for my little boy. So I've mentioned loads of times on the streams that me and my wife are a big fan of these Exit the Games from Cosmos. And I saw online recently they were releasing a kids version. Now, some of the puzzles in the adult ones are particularly tough, and there's no way kids could kind of manage them. But this one was aimed at ages 5 and up. And so I did make sure that I did tell my son I would buy this for him. And if you know these Exit games, you basically can play them once and you end up destroying some of the cards involved, which is like, it's cool the way that works in the actual game, but it does mean that you can't like hand it off to anybody else to play once you've finished it. This kids version is playable multiple times, and I'll chat about it a bit later on as well, because I have played it now with my son as well. For those of you that didn't see the announcement, Mantic Games announced over the Expo weekend that they are bringing Worms, the board game, to the table. There's been a real mixture of how can I put this? A mixture of what on earth, why on earth would they do that? Or to why on earth has nobody done this before? It's a brilliant idea. What's the gameplay going to be about? Is it going to be just kind of trying to blow each other up? And so there's obviously a lot more to find out about this. But from my perspective, I remember playing Worms back on the Amiga, like at my mate's house and stuff like that when I was younger. So I do have fond memories of playing Worms. Whether it'll translate to a board game, we're yet to see. But it was cool to kind of see this Worm. I actually did know about this game coming when I did the announcement for Mantic's board game division, and I went to film that. Ronnie was telling me about it then, and in the video, if you go back and watch it, there is actually a miniature worm, sort of a 3D printed version on the table as we were chatting. So for the eagle-eyed amongst you, this has been kind of sitting out there in plain sight for quite some time. I think that was pretty much all of the photographs I took on the Friday. This was on the Saturday morning. I went across to see Exit 23 Games, and for those of you know for those of you that know Mr. Shy Guy, who has a YouTube channel, I do urge you to go and check him out. He was painting on the Exit 23 game stand over the weekend, and I had a really nice little chat with him as well. We share a lot of kind of common opinions, shall we say, and ideas when it comes to sort of non-GW content, and I think we'll probably do some stuff together in the future. But on that stand, Exit 23, they are the UK distributor for Relic Blade. And these miniatures here were Relic Blade miniatures on a nice little kind of demo board. And I think you can kind of see them a little bit better there. They were really nice miniatures. These are all metal as well. The game plays on a 2 foot by 2 foot playing surface. You only have about 4 or 5 models per side. It's not the cheapest of games, but I think with a lot of these kind of, what I even class them as like boutique type games, you know, where they're very much sort of one-man band, sort of pulling everything together themselves, shipping over from the US, that kind of thing. It does push the price up a little bit. On the converse, or on the flip side of that, you don't need to buy much. Once you've bought that kind of box, that starter box and the rule set, it's pretty much all you need to get playing, really. And of course, you can always expand it and use whatever miniatures you want. But yeah, looked really interesting. Relic Blade, something I think I'd like to dive into in the future as well. Exit 23 also did these range of kind of Blood Bowl alternatives, and this was one of the this kind of Frogmen Blood Bowl team was pretty good. I quite liked it, so I thought I'd take a couple of shots of that as well, because it did look quite nice. And they also had this, I'm not even sure what race this is. Is it elves or something like that? But looks good nonetheless, and I quite liked the little kind of display pitch and stuff that they had it set up on. It was really nice. So yeah, check out Exit 23 games and the stuff that they do. They're also a supplier for Turbo Dog paints as well. Next up, I had a chat with the guys from the Eldfall Chronicles, a free company. As I've mentioned this before, they've sent me out a copy of the Eldfall Chronicles to review. I've actually got miniatures and stuff scattered around here. I've been kind of working on that in the background and playing through it, and sort of not rushing into a review, getting the chance to play it a few times to really get my head around and give you a proper review of it, rather than just this is what you get in the box, you know, sort it out yourself kind of thing. So to get a proper opinion on the game. So I've been playing that in the background. So I wanted to go and chat to the folks from Eldfall Chronicles, and they've also sent me a prototype copy of an upcoming Kickstarter that they've got coming called Northern Wind, and I had a demo game of that while I was there to help me be able to play the prototype that they sent me out as well. And the miniatures in this game are absolutely beautiful. They are up there with some of, if not the best miniatures I think I've ever seen. The quality of them is absolutely fantastic. They are made by a company called is it something cool or something like, I forget the name of the. In fact, it might be on the boxes here. Let me just. Yeah, Unicool, the company are called, and they make the miniatures, and it's that kind of really high quality sort of flexible or pliable resin that Corvus Belli are starting to use now as well for their Infinity miniatures. But the quality, the detail, the sharpness, I honestly would say it's second to none. Yeah, I mean, I just can't even. I need to show you in the video just how good the quality of the miniatures are. But I had a chance to play this this prototype of the upcoming Kickstarter, and it's a game that is set in Eldfall Chronicles, and the miniatures are compatible between the two systems, but it's more of a dungeon crawler type thing, and it works really well. If you like that kind of sort of feudal Japan mixed with a bit of fantasy and kind of sort of Oni demons and mystical creatures and stuff like that, being able to kind of, like, there's a thing where basically you can get attacked, and if one character basically has this ability that just before he loses his last health point, it can throw down a smoke bomb and basically disappear and kind of go back to the last checkpoint on the map and be able to kind of keep going again. So there's some really cool little things, and I'm looking forward to showing you the stuff that's coming from that. But I thought their table setup was beautiful. These are some of the miniatures from Eldfall Chronicles, and actually I might be able to zoom in and kind of, it's maybe not the best of photographs, but there's These are, they really, really are. They're not going to be everybody's taste. They're not going to be everybody's style and things like that. But the quality, I mean, you can kind of see one there. That's the bare resin. And obviously, excuse my photography quality, but you can kind of see the quality of the pictures there. The kind of the demons in the smoke and stuff like that. And I can vouch to say that they are flexible as well. It's not like brittle resin. They have some really, really cool things. You see some on there as well, and these are some of the sort of Japanese style to them and things as well. But I'll show these off better when we get to the reviews. Now, this was the thing, I would say, of all the things I saw over the weekend, this was the thing that really stood out to me and kind of blew my mind. And if you've seen my pictures that I put on Twitter over the weekend, or you saw what I put in the Patreon chat over the weekend, these miniatures here are from My Mini Factory, the 3D printing company, and these are 3D printed miniatures. Now, why these blew my mind is they are 3D printed in this colour. So when they come off the 3D printer, this is how they look. They are pre-painted, pre-printed, if you like. So you can buy them like this. They basically come off the printer already painted. And we were chatting about the technology that's involved in this, and it absolutely blew my mind. And just to kind of show some of these off, like, I mean, is it as good as like a kind of a studio painted miniature? Not at all. But if you're somebody that's playing D&D, if you're somebody that's playing kind of like sort of skirmish games, you want individual characters. If you're somebody that's playing like a board game type thing, these are absolutely up your street. And they gave me one of these miniatures to take away with me, so I'll get you some better quality photographs and stuff like that. Looks fantastic, and I've basically got the business card for the CEO. I was chatting to him, and we're going to do a video interview and a real deep kind of dive into this kind of stuff. And they're getting ready to start talking about this in the next month, or so, and starting to sort of really push it out there. But this is just like I've never seen this kind of jump in technology. You know where things like 3D printing, you kind of see the baby steps. With this kind of pre-coloured stuff, I've not seen the in-between of this, really. I've not seen the grey resin to this stage. I haven't seen what's happened in the middle. Or maybe I'm just not aware of it. But how I described it to the guy was basically it's almost like going from 0 to 100. I haven't seen the journey on how you get to this kind of step here. But yeah, Matt says, I thought they were slap-chopped, not printed that way. Yeah, they do have an element of a bit of a slap-chop look to them. They do almost have like kind of like a contrast paint over a Zenithal Prime style to them. But no, this is exactly how they come off the printers. And I just thought they were fantastic. I mean, you can kind of see here, if I zoom in a little bit, if you get in really close on the detail, I mean, there's some little bits of kind of dust and stuff on them off people handling them and things. You can kind of see on the skin tones here, the kind of the light parts and the shaded parts and the dark parts. So there's definitely kind of like a highlight and tone to it. And as you get in close, not the best miniature to be zooming in, I apologise. But you can see the kind of the 3D, you can see some of the kind of 3D lines in it. So if you get up really, really close, you can kind of see some of it. But I mean, that to me, like to come off the printer looking like that, I was just super impressed. And that was it for my photographs. This was the first miniature I built when I got home. I built this last night. And this was me and the little boy last night after we'd played 3 games of this, and we played another game tonight as well before bed. He absolutely loves it. It was a big hit with him as well. So yeah, unfortunately, my Expo weekend was kind of cut short a little bit as I wasn't feeling too well. So part of Saturday and all of Sunday was a bit of a write-off, and I didn't end up going into the God Tier event because of that. But yeah, I had a fantastic weekend. Disappointed I didn't get to see more. Disappointed that I wasn't feeling up to the Sunday because that was going to be my shopping day. But yeah, I'll 100% be going back again next year. So yeah, no worries on that one. What I would say is there's a lot there now. It was quite overwhelming at times, and you definitely had to kind of leave and get a bit of a breather and get yourself out of there. But it's almost, I would say it's getting so busy now that one day is almost not enough anymore. I used to like to be able to take my time and kind of spend my time over the 3 days getting to see everything. And I know a lot of people come for one day. It's almost getting to the point where it's so busy and so big now, one day is not enough, even for those that want to just visit for a day. Loads of chat going on here as well. Tony Howell saying, I like Mr. Shy Guy. Chatted to him on and off. He's a really nice guy. He is a really nice guy, mate. VG saying, everyone loves feudal fantasy Japan, and by everyone, I mean me. Matt saying, I love the Kitsune Mini. Yeah. Tony saying they're fantastic. They really are, mate. Yeah. Jess is saying, what sorcery is this? Matt saying, pre-painted, be still my beating heart. It's weird. I like, my understanding of the technology isn't strong enough that I would start to try and explain to you how it works. The best thing I can do is make the video with. So basically, I'm going to speak to the person who owns the company and the person who has basically invented the technology, I believe. But we're going to have a good sort of deep dive into that. And yeah, Tony's saying they're printed colour ones. They absolutely are, mate. Yeah. And Jess is saying they're pretty bloody good, better than most pre-paints. And that was kind of like where they were aiming them at. They're not aiming them to be kind of like pro-painted, if you like. They were aiming them to be kind of almost up there with your basic standard of if you paid a studio or a commission painter and you say pretty much give me your basic standard type thing, or give me like a good standard, this is the kind of style that you would get, really. It wouldn't have 5 different layers of shading on it or something like that. It wouldn't have maybe edge highlighting on it, but it would look great on the tabletop, and that's exactly what I think what their market is. Probably more like along the lines of kind of RPG players who want bits and pieces, because what they do, my mini factory obviously as well, is they have a division that is a little bit like what's it called, Thingy Forge, I forget what it's called now, where you basically can create your own miniatures. So the idea is you could create your own miniature online and get it printed and sent to you, and it would come kind of pre-painted looking like that, which I think is absolutely amazing. VG is saying I'd put them in that similar quality with a slap chop and dry brush. Yeah, I would say potentially even like a little step up from that, to be fair, looking at them. Dan says I went and visited their stall and loved the look of their minis. It was quite interesting. They weren't really sort of pushing it. It was tucked away at the back of the stand, and actually I was walking past the stand, and there was a guy on the stand. Basically, he kind of went, like BlackJack Legacy, I was in one of your streams recently. We were chatting, and it turns out we'd chatted a few times in the past, and I hadn't realised that he worked for my mini factory. And we were just chatting about the industry, about games, about videos, all that kind of stuff. And he went, I've got something that'll blow your mind. Come with me. And he took me over and showed me it. So it was interesting that it wasn't kind of set front and centre. For me, it was probably the one thing at the show that I would say really sort of blew me away, as if to say, like, wow, the technology in that is unbelievable. Yeah, Super Punky Man saying some Star Trek level awesome, and VJ saying, yeah, even printed pupil in the eyes. Yeah, I did say that as well, mate. Yeah, fetch the Inquisitor. There's surely some kind of wizardry. Yeah, it's definitely some kind of I think the technology is, if I'm right here, is to do with kind of sort of, you almost pre-color them as you're designing, sculpting the mini. And certain things react differently to wavelengths of light and stuff, I think. Let's have a little look. Yeah, some people have said 3D printers are like replicators. They are a bit, to be fair. Matt's saying, sorry to hear that, hope you're feeling better now. I'm on the mend, mate, I'm on the mend. Jess says, it looked full on watching it on tabletop coverage. Yeah, it definitely was full on, mate. Zingbo said he was there for the full 3 days. He played in 4 RPG sessions, which left me a couple of afternoons in the morning and check out the trade halls. That seemed a reasonable balance. Yeah, I think 3 days to just wander the halls is probably too much. But it is getting to the point where maybe one day is not enough to get round everything. Just to say, I know how it works. Wizards. Definitely. Matt saying, tabletop standard, it's all you need to get it down on the table and not worry about having the skills to do them justice. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always going to be people who want to paint their miniatures, and that's their hobby, and all power to, like, that's the whole point. You do the hobby your way, you do the bit that interests you, but there are people that just want to sort of put them on the tabletop and are a little bit nervous to paint stuff, or a little bit frightened about ruining miniatures. And also, it's quite a bit of an investment to be like to buy all of your brushes and your paints and all of your painting equipment if you're only wanting a few models for kind of for an RPG or something like that. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a place for this stuff. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it becomes accessible to the point where this is the kind of stuff you get in board games in the future. Like, this is the start of the technology at the moment. If you start buying kind of Kickstarters and board games and stuff like that in the future with miniatures in, and they come sort of, I say pre-painted, but painted, shall we say? Like that's a real step up from the pre-painted minis that we often get inside board games. And yeah, Jess is saying it's the next step, really well painted out of the box. Definitely, mate. Ed saying it's an X-Wing scale leap forward and may well be the thing that makes 3D printing a real thing. I think the thing is, I'm not sure it's necessarily the technology is going to be sort of consumer level just yet. I think it might be a bit expensive for that, but like everything, it'll get there eventually. Absolutely. Yeah, Matt said, I reckon it'd leave me spinning. Not that used to large crowds these days. It was a bit like that, mate. You definitely needed a bit of a breather from time to time. Anna, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Thank you for joining the member there as well. Very, very big thanks to you. Much appreciated. Shane Dwyer saying, have you been in previous years and this felt way more busier than usual for a Friday? Yeah, I've not missed one in a long time, mate. Probably going back to 2015 maybe I think was when I started going like on a regular basis. Maybe I'm trying to think. Yeah, probably 2015. So probably other than a couple of years that they missed from the pandemic, I've been like every year. And Friday this year felt like it was busy. I'm sure I saw something that said there was around 52,000 visitors over the 3 days, and something like 34,000 unique visitors. So 34,000 people bought tickets. Some of them people bought tickets for multiple days. So yeah, there was definitely it definitely felt busier. Jez is saying there it was 20% more people than last year. Yeah, that does not surprise me, mate. Anna's saying cheese for all the 3D printing help. I'm just really sorry, Anna, that you had to go through it. I was so like, I was just saying this to VG at the weekend. I felt bad because I'd kind of like recommended oh, this is a doddle, it's a great, this is the one that I got, and I would recommend buying it kind of thing. And then you had like multiple problems right off the back from day one. So I was glad to kind of see that it turned out to be something that you could easily fix, kind of thing. And it wasn't necessarily a problem with the printer as such. It was just, a couple of loose bolts or something like that. So yeah, I was glad to see you got back on the straight and narrow. Yeah, Jess is saying good on the folks who can't be asked to paint, getting pretty minis. Yeah, exactly, mate. VG saying, speaking of painting, I saw the bloke from Artis Opus giving Dave from Mini Wargaming the full hands-on with his dry brushing technique. That's the other thing I would say as well. This year felt probably the first year that there were a lot of like miniatures people, like sort of like, should we say, like sort of YouTube celeb type things. In the past, we've had people like the Dice Tower there with Tom Vassell and Z Garcia and people like that. We've had the sit down and shut up guys over there as well. So from a board gaming point of view, we've had those kind of sort of YouTubers and sort of internet celebrities, shall we say, there in the past. This year there was a lot of kind of miniatures or tabletop miniatures sort of YouTubers there, and some stalls had them there like almost a kind of like meet and greet type thing. So Dave from Mini Wargaming was there, I think. what's he called? The lad from Midwinter Minis. I forget his name now. He was there. I think it was like Wayland Games had a few of the kind of like people on their stall for people to meet. I think Element had a few people for to meet. Obviously, Sarastro was there with Asmodee doing paint and stuff as well. So it was quite interesting. That it just shows how miniature gaming is growing at the expo. It also shows how kind of the hobby is generating its own celebrities now. Yeah, VG was saying, yeah, the beers were a great break from the hecticness. They absolutely were, mate. Yeah. Yeah, Shane saying there, I think 2015 may have been my first when I played in the X-Wing Tony. I certainly went to it prior to 2015 because I used to go to the UK Nationals for War Machine when it wasn't at the NEC. It was at the Strathallan Hotel over in Birmingham City Centre. I can't remember when it moved to the NEC, but I don't think I've missed one since it moved to the NEC. Wayne was saying, yeah, he was there Friday at 9 till 5. Tony said he could never have coped with the con, especially UK Games Expo would be a meltdown. You wouldn't be alone, mate. There was a few times I had to go and get a breather outside, to be fair. Shane was saying about the Van Ryder games. Stall was very busy. Lots of discounts on Final Girl expansions. I know my plan was to go on the Friday and pick up Final Girl. On the Sunday, sorry. And then I never got back in on the Sunday. So I was a bit disappointed I never got the chance. VG said he was disappointed the Dice Tower crew weren't there. Yeah, I was surprised actually, to be fair, mate, because they're like, it's that kind of an event now. Haxan said he had a ticket for Sunday, but social anxiety about the number of people meant I stayed at home and painted instead. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, mate. I mean, it's busy, but it's manageable, and there's certainly plenty of opportunities to kind of get out of the crowds and sort of get a breather and sort of get some fresh air and sit on a bench outside round the lake in a bit more peaceful place and stuff. So it's definitely kind of it can be overwhelming, but there are opportunities to kind of dip out of it. Matt was saying it's fascinating how the community has evolved in that respect. Suddenly there's microcosm of celebrity and people can develop a small following purely on the basis of personality. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm almost a little bit hypocritical talking about it, really, but on Friday night, as an example, Thursday night, was it? Yeah, it was Thursday night. I just decided to have a bit of an early night. I was sitting in the bar at my hotel, and Jerry from On Tabletop came in and introduced himself and came and sat with me, and we had a few beers together. And then Lloyd came in as well, Lloyd Johnson from the On Tabletop Beasts of War. He came and sat with us as well, and the three of us basically sat and had a few beers together and kind of chatted industry, chatted tabletop stuff and how things have changed and stuff like that. And I was basically saying that, like, when I first started doing this stuff, like, it was very much your average kind of hobbyist had a YouTube channel. So basically, not everybody had a channel, but like the people that had channels were your average kind of hobbyist, really. It was very much community focused. These days, it is very much more personality focused and drama led and hyperbole. Like I painted this army in 24 hours. I spent £5,000 on this Forge World Titan kind of thing. It's those kind of videos now, and those have exploded, especially around GW's growth. I think those kind of YouTube channels have grown as well alongside it as well. But it definitely feels a bit. Not them and us, that's not what I mean, but it feels like there's almost that like level of celebrity now with them there. Andrew saying, to some extent YouTubers have become part of companies' marketing pushes, particularly GW. Yeah, 100%, mate. I mean, GW, it feels like they don't want their staff to be celebrities anymore. They don't want their staff to be personalities, but they will quite happily tie themselves up with personalities. And like I say, like Wayland Games having people on their stands, Element Games having people on their stands, Asmodee having Sarastro there, kind of thing. Like, it's almost like it's what video games have been doing for years. Like, if you want to see what's happening, go to any video game convention and see how, like, we're not that far away from like what you see at video game conventions, where the kind of these YouTubers have their own stalls doing meet and greets and selling merchandise and kind of doing signings and things like that. I don't think we're that far away from seeing something like that over the next couple of years. You'll not see me doing it. I ain't ever going to be that kind of character. But I'm sure there will be people. Once a few channels start to reach that 1 million subscriber mark, you'll find things are very, very different. Yeah, Luke's saying I have all the Final Girl stuff too. Awesome games. Yeah, Haxan saying it was fantastic. Dan saying I'm glad it wasn't just me who thought the miniatures side of the hobby had increased presence at this year's expo. Yeah, definitely, mate. Busey saying, was it too many beers on a Saturday? It wasn't, mate. You can ask VG. I was with him, and I had three beers on Saturday night, and I almost didn't go out on the Saturday night because I'd been rough during the Saturday. But I felt really bad because the VG had come a long way from Australia, and I felt really bad just sitting in my hotel room. So my first drink was a Coke, and I felt all right. So I thought I'll have a couple of beers with him. So no, it wasn't that, mate. Thumbnails says taking a long lunch, finally able to catch the conversation for the first time in quite a while. Nice to see you, buddy. How are you doing? Matt's in the drama llamas that rear their heads. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that these days. Shane saying, I will say, having been to Essen last year, the Expo crowd were a lot more friendly than the German European crowd that can be quite rude pushing past you. I've never been, mate, but I must admit the crowd, it's busy at the Expo, but it is a friendly kind of, like, people aren't just shoving you around. People will kind of stop and pause and move to the side to let you get through and things like that. I find people definitely very friendly. Cheese Me says YouTube enforces that kind of behaviour. You need the clicks, and thus you need the clickbait to stay afloat. Yeah, I mean, you can choose to not do that. I don't do that really. I've got a much more of a healthy relationship, I think, with YouTube these days. I obviously suffer in terms of not getting the views that they do, but it depends on how you want to kind of sell your soul a little bit. If it is only about the clicks, then yeah, I would agree. YouTube definitely. I wouldn't say it's YouTube's fault either. That's the thing. It only shows people what they want to see, and I think people like drama. That's why people watch car crashes. It's why people slow down when they're on the motorway to look at a car that's crashed and stuff like that. People just like to get enthralled in that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, that's just human nature. And what YouTube and social media does is it basically just shines a light on that stuff and highlights the fact that people like to get involved in anger and drama and negativity. Clyde saying, I ate £2 of bacon on a sandwich and still painted one miniature in a week. I'd be horrible at YouTube. Zingbo is saying, I got to hang out with a few content creators after the expo wrapped up yesterday. There's not the level of insulation between this hobby celebrities and the public like there is with film stars. No, I would agree, mate. I mean, people are generally, I think the difference is at the minute is even the people we would class as celebrities within the YouTube world for miniatures and tabletop, like, are still pretty grounded. Like, they're not driving around in Ferraris, like having a home in, like, sort of Long Beach, California or something like that. Like, they're still pretty much, like, they're just normal dudes who manage to do something a bit different for a job. So I think they still are, like, hobbyists. They're still the same as the rest of us. They're just people that kind of, they happen to make videos that became popular about the thing that they love doing. So yeah, they're a lot more connected, if you like. But I think there will come a time where that might not always be the case. I think there are people already. I would suggest, and I'm not going to name any names, but there are already people who I would suggest maybe love the drama and love the attention more than they actually love the hobby. Luke says, I can put you in touch with AJ from Van Ryder if you'd like to see if you can connect on something. I would love to, mate. I was just saying this to VJ the other night, I'm a massive fan of Hostage Negotiator. And I wanted to go and check out all of the Final Girl stuff. I wandered around on Friday. They were absolutely rammed. I didn't get the chance. And I thought, right, Sunday's my day. Sunday's my shopping day. That's the day I'm going to go and basically spend some time and have a good look. And then I never got back in on the Sunday. So that was one of my regrets from the weekend, was that I never got a chance to go back and see them. I was potentially going to pick up the Star Wars deck building game, and I didn't get to do that. But I can kind of pick that up online, sort of relatively cheap in comparison to what it was selling for anyway. and there was something else I meant to pick up as well. I wanted to pick up Hive Pocket, the little kind of tiled game, just to take away on holiday with me and my wife for the summer. And I was going to pick that up on Sunday as well, and I never went back for it. But yeah. Type 40 TARDIS says, I'd be painting 20 minutes in an hour and babbling about comics and Doctor Who the whole time. It would be an utterly useless stream. This is the thing though, mate. Your audience would then be people that like comics and like Doctor Who and like painting in the same way that folks that come and listen to me rambling on like the same things that I like, or maybe or dislike the things that I like but like something similar and like to disagree with me. Everybody can find their little niche. Everybody can find their audience. Some people find bigger audiences, and certainly a bit of drama and a bit of negativity and a little bit of hyperbole can attract a bigger audience. But yeah. VG says, I spent multiple hours chatting with Discourse, hearing from the horse's mouth about the drama llama stuff. Yeah, we had a few beers with Discourse. So we sat on Friday afternoon. There was myself and VJ. There was Discourse and the guy that edits our videos. There was, who else did we sit with? We sat with Annie as well from Bad Squiddo Games. There was Kerry was there, or K-Legs. You might know her from Instagram. She does some YouTube stuff as well. She's quite often on a lot of the GW kind of the weekend type stuff. Her boyfriend was there as well, and I feel like somebody else was there with us as well, but I forget who it was now. But yeah, there was obviously the little bit of the YouTube chat and stuff like that as well. Super Pumpkin Man says, I'm pretty sure if you did a dance video, you'd get famous for something. There's famous, mate, and then there's infamous, and I don't want to kind of I don't want to straddle that line a little bit. Yeah, VGC, it was interesting. Was it interesting, mate? I never know whether people are interested in that kind of stuff or not. Matt says, this channel is far more like heading down the pub with some friends and shooting the breeze. I like the pace. It's kind of what I enjoy as well, mate. Like it's the kind of stuff I like. It might not get the views. I like to think I've got a friendly audience and a relatively loyal in terms of not necessarily loyal to me, but loyal to the hobby and loyal to the loyal to this side of YouTube, as in I come here for my hobby chat. I come here for a bit of chit chat, a bit of banter, find out what's happening, not necessarily to kind of sort of stir the pot a little bit. And whilst it might not be the most popular channel on the internet, and it never will be, I promise you. It serves me and it serves what I want to do, because I know if I went down that road, and I've had this chat with Discourse as well, that I would end up quitting YouTube if I went down that road of kind of talking about the negative stuff all the time. And it doesn't, I mean, you can talk about the positives from a negative story, but for me it would just, I think it would grind me down. I can't bring myself to just kind of talk about other people's drama like that, or get irate about things that actually I'm far too old and long in the tooth to get irate about. So if I was doing it just for the clicks, I would see some growth, I'd see some extra views, I'd make some more money, but I think in the medium term I would just get sick and I would stop doing it. So this to me it's more of a slow burn, but I enjoy it. VG says, I don't know if Squidmore can afford 2 Titans, he could probably afford a Ferrari. I think Squidmore's a bit different. I think he's doing all right out of this at the minute. I think he's managing to running a nice little empire over there. There are a few channels I think who manage to sort of employ a few people now as well, and that's interesting. It's not just kind of 1 or 2 people on a channel, like a presenter and an editor or something like that, or 2 people playing a game. Some of these channels now have a team of people, and that just shows you how it's grown, really. Mark saying, Hive Pocket is amazing. It lives in that car door, goes everywhere with me. Yeah, that was why I wanted the Pocket one. I played it at one of the BlackJack Legacy Weekender things that we did. I played it with who was it again? It was Skullmunch, I think it was, and my mind's gone blank now. I'm terrible with names. I can picture our face. Skullmunch's girlfriend or his partner. Ruth. What was it? I forget what her name was on the channel and stuff like that, though. Anyway, I played it with her, and I really enjoyed it, and I've been meaning to buy it since then, to be fair. Haxan saying Van Ryder has excellent customer service as well. I've been very impressed with them. That's good to hear, mate. Matt says, I promised myself if I ever make it big, the first thing I'd buy is a Warlord Titan. Yeah, it's a good job that stuff's not really interesting me, to be fair. Wargaming Dad says, I was in tournaments for most of UK Games Expo, but met Dave from Mini Wargamer. He was really cool and just as crazy. Yeah, he was in the pub when me and VJ were in on Saturday night. He was kind of sitting on the table behind us, sitting chatting with Mikey from Hellstorm Wargaming and a few others. Cheese Me says, if you're happy doing your hobby, then you're doing it right. Yeah, I think so, mate, as well. Clyde says, this is like a pub. Need to do a set change so it looks like a pub. Do you know what, mate? I almost did once. I almost did. I had this plan, right, of basically doing like a weekly show called Happy Hour, where I'd essentially be just like sitting, having a beer, with a mate or with my wife, or like inviting people into the chat and just sitting, having a beer and just going like, right, what's the drink of choice this week kind of thing. We've got a nice whiskey here. I'm enjoying this whiskey. And we'll have a chat and kind of calling it happy hour. And I almost did exactly have a bit of a pub set. Cheese Me saying, too much drama in the world. No need to add more. I agree, mate, yeah. Unaided Foot, what a good name, says, I enjoy your channel because it stays positive and you give time to other games. Big fan. Thank you very much, mate. This was a chat I had with a couple of people over the weekend, was that there's so many good stuff out there. I don't need to add to the Games Workshop stuff. There are plenty. Games Workshop are doing a fantastic job on their own, and there are a lot of great channels out there covering it really, really well. It's not my passion. Whilst I can appreciate the quality of the miniatures, whilst I can appreciate how well the company markets their product, and I can appreciate how rich the lore and the background is, it's not my passion. I'm not excited about it. And that would show if I kind of just try to make videos for the sake of trying to get more views. So I'd rather talk about the stuff that I am passionate about, and I'd rather talk about the other fantastic companies that are out there that just don't get the light shone on them. I mean, Moonstone is a prime example of a company that was started by a guy doing it part-time, like alongside his job, and has grown to a point where he's starting to take people on. He's winning awards. And it might not be everybody's taste, but you can't deny that, it's nice to see cool people doing cool stuff and managing to progress and get on in an industry that's almost kind of set up against them a little bit. There are so many cool stuff out there, and I'm even starting to kind of mellow on those miniature agnostic games and things like that as well, and those more boutique-y kind of games that are maybe there's not a big range of miniatures for them, but the game's kind of cool, and the miniatures there are nice to sit and paint kind of thing. I'm starting to kind of my horizons are broadening, I would say. Thumbnail says, the nails in my name is specifically about a pub to hang out at. So yeah, I agree with folks about this channel. I love the hanging out vibe. Thank you very much. Discourse, hello there, saying content creator life ain't easy. It definitely, you know what? It can be frustrating, it can be annoying, it can be isolating, it can be a bit lonely at times. But it is I still get to do something that I love about something that I love. And not every day might not be a great day, but I tell you what, even the bad days are better than some of my better days in my old jobs. So yeah, it's not that bad, to be fair. Jess says, I can't be asked to watch the negative folks videos. I can moan myself. I want something less whingy. I think there's a place for everything, but it's just not my style. That's all. It doesn't mean it's wrong. I personally myself, I couldn't I couldn't maintain it, I think. And so if I'm not going to maintain it, it would seem a bit more clickbaity coming from me, for example. If I suddenly started doing a video that was very highly critical of something, I think I would draw more attention to myself, because people would say, well, that's not the kind of thing he does. He's just doing that for the clicks kind of thing. So I think there's a balance. There's a place for everything. Let's have a little look here. Everybody having a bit of a chat there with discourse. Let's have a little look. Yeah, thumbnails in happy hour would be awesome. Yeah, Tizzy Brain says I wouldn't mind a happy hours type stream, and since I work from home, I can get away with it. Yeah, I was kind of. I mean, lunchtime for me wouldn't be a good time to sit and have a beer. But yeah, I might bring some of these ideas back. To be fair, and then I keep talking about the painting stream coming back. The painting stream are going to come back as well, and that's a much more relaxed kind of chat type stuff as well. Matt says highlighting new companies and giving them a chance is God's work on YouTube. You know what the problem is the problem with it is that a lot of these companies don't promote it themselves. So you can talk about a smaller company and they don't even push it out to their own kind of followers and stuff. Nobody's searching for it because nobody knows about it, so it doesn't get a lot of search traffic. So sometimes you have to engineer the titles, shall we say, and the thumbnails to try and get people to click on it without necessarily knowing what they're clicking on, and then that can attract its own kind of sort of attention as well. And so it's a fine kind of line to tread. I think the trick is, and I was chatting about to Mr. Shy Guy about this over the weekend. Some of us kind of smaller creators and people that cover the lesser known games could do with collaborating together with these companies to say, look, like, send us your starter box, we'll all make videos about it and we'll all launch them around the same time and try and generate like a mass sort of like there's a bit of noise all at one time, rather than there's a video today and then there's a video in 2 months from a different channel. And maybe that's a better way to try and help out those smaller companies. But it then takes us as smaller creators to kind of almost pool together and try and like we get our stuff out, like our ideas together, rather than the companies themselves going, I tell you what, I'll contact 10 different channels and see if they'll do it. Yeah. Shane says, yeah, totally agree. Your coverage of some of the really superb smaller companies like Moonstone, Burrows and Badgers and Northumbrian Tin Soldier. Thanks, mate. Jess is saying, if I want stuff that's not just GW, there's so much more to talk about. I mean, there are people out there who want non-GW stuff. I think the problem is they don't always get the chance to find it, really. It's like, I don't think it's always shown to them, and that's always been one of my frustrations. I would love people to get the opportunity to see the stuff I make and then go, nah, it's not for me, I'm not clicking it, kind of thing. But like, it doesn't even get sent out to your subscribers. Like, that's the problem. Some of it is definitely based upon, did they watch the last video? And because I don't make videos about the same topic, I might make a video about one game and then make a video about a different game and then make a video about a different game. If they didn't watch the last one, YouTube might not show them the next one. So it's like, it's a bit of a double-edged sword at times as well. VG says it was pretty eye-opening for me to see how many smaller minis games and makers are out there at UK Games Expo. Yeah, and the other thing, mate, is that like the fact that a lot of them are too small to afford a table at Expo. Like, it's not that cheap either. And some of them, like when I was chatting to Annie, she was like saying that basically she'd ploughed pretty much like her entire sort of like savings into trying to like sort of get like a decent stall this year, because like it's not that she's doing amazing, it's just the fact that she's really needs to get like she needs to get the word out there, and she needs to get in front of people so they can actually see her stuff. So yeah, it's interesting, mate. Matt says, hug your local friendly content creator if they don't mind. Yeah. Yeah. always ask permission. Let's have a little look here. Where are we up to here? Ed saying, are we getting to minis tonight? We will do, mate. We will do. Tony saying, hoping you can find a way to shoehorn the Riddler from Night Games into this month's painting challenge. We'll make a way to make it fit, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Superpunk Man says, any day you wake up not feeling like crap and have nothing to stress about is a great day. You're right, mate. Andy Smith, nice to see you, mate. How you doing? Discourse is saying, I got a game of Shatterpoint. Did you? And what did you think? That's as good a point as any to slide into the Shatterpoint big chat. So, box. Huge. So, Discourse and I had a bit of a natter over a drink on Friday afternoon. Shatterpoint and about what she thought of it and what I thought of it. And one of the things that she mentioned was that she thought it was quite expensive. Now, I don't disagree with it. It is quite expensive. And I think, if I remember off the top of my head, is the retail price like £160 or something like that? Let me just see if I can do a search and see how much it is at retail, because I forget now. So Shatterpoint, because I obviously didn't pay retail price for it, and so it's £165 in the UK, and I think it's $165 in the US. Is the full retail price for it. And that is a lot of money for a miniatures game. I would not disagree with that. However, I didn't pay that, and I'm assuming the vast majority of people didn't pay that either. There was a lot of discounts available on pre-orders, and even at the things at the show, and even now if you look online, it is still there. It's still discounted as well. Now, I think I paid £120, which is definitely towards the cheaper end of the prices that were online, but I paid £120 for the starter set. Now, that is still a big chunk of change, but it's up there with the GW starter boxes, the kind of the Necromunda starter boxes, the Warcry starter boxes, the Kill Team starter boxes, that kind of stuff. And you do get a big chunk of stuff in the box as well. Now, the miniatures, you get 16 miniatures in the box, which gives you 2 full sort of, we'll call them armies, 2 full squads for 2 people to play the game. So you do get 2, and that's not like kind of taster ones, it's not demo ones. That's 2 full to play the game at the intended points level, if you like. I know there's not points, but go with me, you know what I mean. And you also get a real big chunk of terrain. Now, what I would suggest is, if you're familiar with the likes of like the old Warcry starter sets, the original one, the Kill Team starter sets, the bigger ones that come with a lot of terrain, it's up there with those level of things in terms of you get enough terrain in there to play a game. It's not a case of like there's a few bits of scatter terrain on here and it looks okay, but like you need a lot more stuff to play. The terrain that comes in here definitely fills like, or is certainly enough to play like on a 3x3 table, which is the game size. And then obviously you get all of the measuring tokens and all the cards and the dice and everything else as well. So in terms of let's say, is it expensive? I guess that's a personal taste thing. I would suggest it's expensive in comparison to other starter boxes. Is it good value? I personally think it's fantastic value, because you do get everything you need to play in there, and technically you don't necessarily need to buy anything else. Now, I've mentioned this on other streams as well, is we got these boxes as well. So I bought both of those on launch weekend. Or I pre-ordered them, and I think I paid at pre-order, I think I paid £35 each for these, and I think these are recommended retail price of probably like 50 quid. So again, this gives me some options to list build and things like that, and bring in some new little kind of factions and things. But you buy those 2, if you didn't buy the starter box but you want to play with friends, you could buy those 2, £70, and you've got everything you need to play alongside your friend's core set as well. So there's ways and means to get into it for kind of like slightly less money as well. Gameplay wise, I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I've moved models around myself on a table just to kind of like read through the rules and understand how they work, and I like the rules. The cover rules a little bit bit quirky, but I mean they're clear. They're just a bit unusual for people that are not used to that style of game. If you're familiar with Marvel Crisis Protocol, it makes a bit more sense. Matt's saying there, or somebody is saying to Matt, £50 for 4 minis is crazy. Do you know what? It depends upon how you see this as value, because like if I got 10 models in here and it was £40, would you say that was good value? But I need 50 models to play the game. So it's all about it's a balance, isn't it, of like, how much do I need to spend to play and what do I think is good value for what I'm getting in the box. So there's two ways to look at it, really. I tend to lean into how much do I need to spend to play the game, and do I think the quality of the miniatures is good enough to justify the price. So I think there's a bit of a double-edged sword to it, really, and it's not the same for everybody. People will have different opinions on it, whether they think it's good value or whether they think it's expensive. For me personally, it ticks a lot of boxes, and that's kind of what I like. Let's have a little look at the bits of chat here. Where are we up to here? Yeah, Discourse saying smaller companies need to get their boxes out to more influencers to help create that buzz. I agree. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge amount of money to get some kind of marketing done. I mean, you'd spend more on advertising spend. Yeah, and Discourse is saying it's really hard to make content covering smaller games because I know they'll get a third of the views of a regular video. It's not even the fact that you get a third of the views, it's the fact that it screws up the algorithm for future videos as well. So you do a video that's more mainstream and it might even potentially suffer based upon what the last one did. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix. Shane saying you should get commission as I bought the Conquest Last Argument of Kings 2-player starter set after watching your unboxing. What I would suggest is if you ever watch a content creator, any content creator, and they cover something that interests you enough that you go out and spend some money, you go and buy something, tell the company where you found out about them, because it helps the content creators to know like that their stuff's working, and it helps the content creators to get their word out there. But it also helps the companies to know, like, that it works, like that's sort of sending out boxes to channels that you watch actually does work. So yeah, I mean, as with the Conquest one, to be fair, they didn't send me it; I bought it myself. But yeah, tell them. Where are we up to here? B. Davies is saying that's a bit steep. Depends, mate. John's saying I hate boxes without instructions. They don't have instructions, but the instructions are on the website. You just bring them up on your phone or on your laptop or whatever. Not always ideal, but I think sometimes it's maybe potentially about there's an element of saving a bit of money but not putting paper in the box when you can put it on the website for something that's essentially disposable. Once you've used it, you throw it away. But I know what you mean. I do generally like having instructions in a box. Matt saying 160 sounds about right. I think the individual squads are 40-ish. Yeah. John saying he paid 120 quid as well. Yeah. Shane saying Board Games Extra 120 quid. I think I got mine from... Did I get mine from Magic Madhouse? I think I got mine from. Jez is saying if you get everything you need, it's not bad. Shane saying I think it's good value set with a lot of plastic in there. Basically everything you need to have a really good, cool setup. Yeah, I agree. And for a lot of people, like if you took all of the terrain out there, you could definitely drop the price down. But then the game needs terrain because it relies upon kind of height. It relies upon moving around. And I think that actually what they've done is, yeah, they've obviously done it to make more money and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you can appreciate the game, I think, and appreciate the game player by actually having everything in the box that allows you to play the game as intended. BD is saying, yeah, just have a look on the Wayland Games. That's too much for me. Yeah, not every game's for everybody, mate. That's absolutely fine. Shane saying, yeah, only downside is you need more dice. I have heard that as well, mate. I think it's one of those kind of more dice would definitely be helpful. You can live without it, but it would be nicer if you did have them, kind of thing. Yeah, Shane saying 35 quid is decent. I paid 38 from Board Game Extras. Yeah. John saying I paid 40 each for the two boxes. Yeah. Type 40 toys, I've been seeing the core box for $130 and the expansions for 40. What I would say is that we certainly don't seem to have seen any issues with supply. Like I've seen stores, like retail stores, having like sort of boxes and boxes of this stuff and having them all for pre-order. Like it seems to have sold really, really well. Asmodee seemed to have covered the launch pretty well. There was a few things about the bonus miniature that some people get and some people didn't. I didn't get it, but I'm not really worried about it. That bonus mini is going to be in another box, and I'm probably going to buy that box in the future. So I just end up with 2 minis of the same thing. So for me, it's not really an issue. But I would say it seems to have been a relatively straightforward and easy launch. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the GW launch in a few weeks' time. Yeah, Jez is saying £50 for a force is okay. Ed saying £50 for half an army, superb value. That's kind of what I mean, mate, about it. Like, it depends upon how much do I need to spend to play the game versus, like, do I just want loads of minis to make it seem like value, but it's only a fifth of what I need to spend to be able to play. VGC, will the Shatterpoint rules be the new Curse City for BlackJack Legacy? No, they won't, mate. I've already read the rules many times because they have been available for a few weeks now, and I'm really happy with the rules. There's a lot of stuff that I love in there, and the difference with Curse City was I didn't get a chance to see the gameplay until it was already in my hands and I'd spent my money on it. Andrew Cook says, I think time needs to be factored into value both in terms of hobby and gameplay time. I think it does. I mean, this is why I tend not to generally talk about the cost of things, is because, you know, everybody's got a different amount of money to spend. What might be cheap to me might be really expensive to somebody else. What I might think is very expensive might seem like a bargain to somebody else. So the cost of things is very much like, well, how much have you got to spend kind of thing. Like, some people think a Rolex watch is fantastic value. You know, some people want to buy a Casio watch. So it really does depend. When it comes to value, that's even more subjective, because what is your measurement of value? Like, my measurement of value will be kind of like, well, can I play a game with this? Am I going to enjoy painting them? Like, it's like there's an element of like, does it feel like quality? Does it feel like I'm getting my money's worth here? Like, do I feel like there's a bit of like love and attention? Like the quality of the box, the quality of the component. And I know they might not be that important to everybody else, but I like the idea. Well, when I've spent a few quid on something, I don't want it to be like a tatty little cardboard sleeve over a cardboard box. Like, there's a part of me wants that quality box. Like, the fact that it's got that kind of gloss printing on the cover and things like that. It's all the little things that add up to just... And it's just perceived value. It's perceived quality. And it might not be important to a lot of people. But to me, it's part of the package. Matt's saying, yeah, it depends how you justify it. A trip to the cinema for a family of 4 is going to be north of that. Or a couple of nights out down the pub. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Like... How would I compare it? Like we went before I went away at the weekend. We went to like a pub and had like dinner, like me and my wife and the little lad. And I think I spent like 45-50 quid or something like that. And all I really had to show for it was like we'd had our tea. Like, so I'll get more value out of this than I would do just kind of like going to the pub for tea kind of thing, or getting a takeaway. And they're relatively like similar in value. Jess says, yeah, plus smaller pile of shame, you could paint whole forces in less than a year. And that's my plan, really. That's why I've left these wrapped up at the minute, is because my intention is I'm not even going to make a start on these until I've basically built and painted everything in the core box, and then I'll make a start on these, and then I'll buy more expansions if I enjoy the game and I've painted these. I kind of like I basically went heavy with Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I've got a lot of stuff that's just kind of grey or primed, and I have played with them, but I almost set myself up for a fall basically with the amount of stuff that I need to paint, and this is a bit of a reset for me. It's something I'm really interested in. It's something I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to try and manage it like with a bit more kind of care and attention, to be fair. Yeah, Greg's saying cover's being changed by AMG already. Yeah, I saw that they changed it, mate, as well. It's kind of the rules online have been updated. It's had a couple of little tweaks in it, and I would suggest it makes slightly more sense, but I think it's changed the game, like in terms of how cover works, quite significantly. But yeah, I'll need to play it to really kind of feel it. Scott says I paid 130 quid for the starter, 60 for the extra terrain, and 40 for the Duco set. Yeah, I decided not to bother with the extra terrain, mate. I'm planning on 3D printing some stuff. I've already made a start on some bits and pieces, and I wasn't sure I necessarily needed more terrain for my first games. I did see it at the expo over the weekend, and I was tempted to almost just, you know what it's like when you go to like a shopping trip type thing, and you see stuff, you almost just want to buy something for the sake of it. So I did toy with buying more terrain, but I don't think I'm going to need it just yet anyway. So yeah, let's have a little look. Yeah, Andy says I did that at Mantic with you for Dead Zone with Big Ronnie. Where that just jumped up my head there. Wow, where did that go? Oh yeah, thank you very much, Andy. I appreciate that. Shane says those B1s are super fiddly, mate. They are a bit fiddly, mate. I'll be honest. I mean, everybody's been telling me how bad they are, and I built them this afternoon, and they weren't terrible. I've built worse miniatures, but not much worse. It's just the fact that the legs are kind of like spindly, and like you basically kind of you basically got to wait for the glue to go off, kind of thing. And while the legs are wanting to kind of skip around a little bit. So yeah, they weren't the easiest to build, but I got there. A bit of patience, that's what it was. Jez is saying he painted his whole force for Veritwood last night, 4 minis. I'd spent one night kit bashing them too. That's not bad, mate, is it? Yeah, Ed saying AMG are basically FFG. You always need more dice. Yeah, there is that, mate. I don't think I ever got more dice for Marvel. I don't think I ever bought an extra dice pack for that, mate, to be fair. So I was always happy with that. And to be fair, I haven't played this yet, but yeah, I mean, an extra set of dice is not going to break the bank, is it? I'll be alright with that. And I suppose if you're playing against a friend who also has a Shatterpoint core set, then they're going to have their own dice as well. So if you're going to like events and things like that, everybody's probably got their own dice. But yeah, just if you're just playing this one core set with one other person, you might find a few more dice would be helpful. Yeah, Zingbo is saying FFG Star Wars RPGs. I think the original X-Wing styles were a bit short on dice. One of FFG's things were their starter boxes weren't called starter boxes; they were called core boxes. And a lot of times, they almost wanted you to buy 2 core boxes, which gave you 2 lots of dice. It gave you 2 lots of measuring tokens. It gave you extra ships and bits and pieces and things like that. So yeah, so there was quite a lot of sort of buying twice as much stuff type things. Ariel saying I decided to make my life less stressful and not go after the Leviathan box. I'm getting either this box or Conquest Old Dominion. I'll be honest, the new 10th edition, it feels like it's bounced off me a little bit. I was kind of interested in it when I heard about it. The more I hear about it, or the more I heard about it, the more it just seems like the same game with a few tweaks. And so I just feel like it's kind of passing me by now. Like Shatterpoint is my 10th edition, really. Clyde Dashin, thank you for the donation, mate. He says Zingbo wants to see the monthly painting. It will be coming back, mate. It will be coming back. So yeah, I think Shatterpoint's kind of like my 10th edition. So yeah, I'm not really planning to talk much about 10th edition, if I'm honest. More because I don't really know what to talk about. I'll be completely honest. I contacted Games Workshop. I asked them if they were interested in maybe doing something along the lines of like looking at this from a completely like a new player perspective. I basically said, look, I know you work with a lot of sort of really passionate content creators who are, you know, it's their bread and butter. They cover Warhammer all day, but I think you're saying that this is basically to try and break down the entry level and trying to appeal to new players and players who've maybe bounced off in the past. Would you consider kind of sort of working with me to cover it from that kind of angle? And the person I spoke to, I won't mention any names or anything, the person I spoke to said, fantastic idea, I'll put you in touch with the right person. And I spoke to the right person, who that right person was, and they never ever got back to me. And I spoke to somebody else who I know who works at GW, and he said he would speak to them as well, and they never ever got back to me. So I'm obviously not on their radar. I'm not in their kind of in their circle of people that they want to work with. But it's not something that's massively exciting me. When I contacted them, I was excited by the idea of combat patrol games and smaller scale games, and a more smooth entry into the game and less complex, and having the stats on the cards in front of you. It ticked a lot of the boxes. But the more they've released about it, the more it just kind of feels like 9th edition with some tweaks. Let's have a little look here. Shane is saying, I was considering getting into Kill Team but went for Shatterpoint instead. So far I'm not disappointed. Clyde saying, weird people play these games. Yeah, some people do, mate. James Bray saying, if you're a painter that never gets to play, these more expensive boxes are worse value. I think it depends, mate, on how you value the miniatures that you paint. Like if you buy like one-off miniatures, you're probably paying in the region of like maybe 10 to 15 pounds per miniature if you were just buying individual miniatures to paint. If you're somebody that sees value in just bundles and bundles of miniatures, but like you never really get round to painting them all, then maybe that's false economy as well. So I think it just depends. At the end of the day, if you're a painter, you buy the minis you want to paint. I don't think you necessarily worry about buying starter boxes. Matt's saying there's definitely a difference in feel when something comes in a colourful box versus when they come in a blister pack. There definitely is. I mean, I've spoke about this before. It's the reason that when you spend a fortune on a watch, it comes in a really nice box. There's an element that, like, you don't want to think that you've bought something that was expensive and it hasn't been looked after. There isn't care and attention, if you like. And I think it's a psychological thing. But yeah, there's definitely... Like, look at the boxes GW use. They always look nice. They're always good quality. The inserts inside, the way it's packaged, that kind of stuff. It's not just like thrown into a sort of like a plastic bag and thrown in a box kind of thing, like some companies do. James says, my curry in Kensington tonight cost 45 quid. Wow. James says, I know it's not your thing, but did you spot the chroma stand? I did, mate. Yeah, it looked really busy, to be fair. It looked really nice. Their artwork on their stuff is fantastic, and it seemed like it was really, really busy. I couldn't necessarily get close enough to have a good look at the stuff on the stall because it seemed like they were kind of like they were surrounded by people. So, yeah, good luck to them, mate. I hope it does really well. Shane's saying, interesting how in the expansions they put about 5 sets of character cards in 5 other languages. Not sure what I'll do with them. Any ideas? You don't really need them, mate, but what they've done, the difference is there's the core boxes are basically region dependent. So obviously English writing on the back of the English speaking countries on the boxes, German on the back of the German boxes, everything else. These ones, in order to try and help them with sending stuff around the world for the expansions, these are basically the same box will go everywhere around the world, and it's cheaper to do that and then basically put the cards inside with multiple different languages on. They did the same with Warcry for the expansions for the Warcry armies, where basically you got all of the different languages inside the box, and it's just a way to manage stock. Because what they've done in the past is they've made a German box, they've made a French box, they've made a Spanish box, they've made an English box. This is a really, really good idea. It feels frivolous, but just chuck them in the bin, mate. They're no use to anybody really at that state. Anybody that wants them cards will probably have already got them with the miniatures. Let's have a little look here. Robert Blake says, I just paint the minis as a hobby, and I was 10 when A New Hope was released, so I've grown up with Star Wars. Yeah, I'm a bit like that with Star Wars as well, mate. I think I'm just predisposed to like Star Wars stuff, really. So I was happy to know that this seemed like a good game. Ed saying Corvus have some nice looking STLs up already. They do, mate. It's another reason why I kind of like held off with the terrain. Was because I knew Corvus Games Terrain were making some almost like sort of compatible stuff, which is great. John says, I think I saw a Grievous squad pack at UK Games Expo. It shouldn't be available yet, mate, the Grievous one, but you might have done. Somebody might have got it early. Matt says, quick question, is auto leveling a decent feature to look for on FDM printer, or is it better just to pick up a £120 job and grit my teeth and just deal with the frustration of learning it all? It's hard for me to give you advice, mate, because I've got 2 FDM printers and they don't have auto leveling on them, and I don't find it a problem. But I've never used a printer with auto leveling on it to go, my God, I wish I had that on my printer. I personally find manual leveling pretty straightforward, and it's not something I check on a regular basis because they don't really get knocked or anything like that. So the way I guess it depends upon how handy you feel that you are, and do a bit of research about how you like, do you feel like it's, if you watch a review video or you watch a video on how to level a bed, do you think it's something you could do quite easily? Because I find it pretty simple, and so I've never had to have an auto level on one. The printers I've got is, I think I paid £150 for the first one when it was released, and I bought a second one when they were in the sale at Christmas for £90. They're exactly the same printer, and I'm really, really pleased that I got those, and I personally wouldn't have paid the extra for auto leveling because I've never felt that I needed it. So, long answer to a short question, mate. Andrew Cook saying, all the Shatterpoint models mono pose. They are mono pose, mate, but some of them have multiple pose options in terms of, you can have, like, for example, Commander Rex, you can have him with his helmet or without his helmet. I think Gar Saxon you can have with a helmet, without a helmet. There's a couple of different weapon options, like one with a shield and a pistol, one with a rifle. What else is there? I'm just looking on here on the bottom of the box. I think it's the same with Bo-Katan as well. You can have an option of a different weapon and with or without a helmet. So there are some multiple options, but yeah, I think you'll find most miniatures these days are kind of a monopose. Zingbo saying, can we see the May painting challenge models? I'm not sure how much longer I'll be up for. To be honest, mate, we've only really got 20 minutes left now of this stream, so I think rather than just throw them in at the end, I'll show them next week, because to be honest, I didn't even realise the time. We've been having a good old natter tonight. So I think what I'll do is I'll show them next week and give them the time they deserve, because it's not fair on the folks that have submitted them to not show them, like, rather than just whiz through them, mate. Alan Stewart, hello mate. He says, the only thing about 10th that could be interesting is Combat Patrol, but I'll wait a few months to see how that plays out before I buy anything. Yeah, I was exactly the same as I said, mate. It was Combat Patrol that interested me. The idea of just buying a starter box type thing and then being able to play it. And it's might be something I'd like you say, once it comes out and I hear a bit more about it, it might be something I still do. I know my older sons are keen to do it, and one of my sons has bought himself a Tau starter box because he wants to do it. So I might do it, but I can't see me really covering it on the channel. It might be just one of those things I do in the background to play some games with my son, really. Yeah, Andrew said if you want to cover 10th edition Combat Pull will be more your thing. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, mate, but to be honest, it's just at the minute it's just not really on my radar. I'm not a massive fan of that Leviathan box. I've never really been a fan of the Tyranids. They're not really my thing. And the Space Marines, whilst I like them, they look like Space Marines. I feel like, I know there's some new models in there, but when they come out like with a new captain or something like that, or a new lieutenant, I always feel like I've seen it before. Like it never feels like it's something outstanding, because it's not my kind of kettle of fish. Like, it's not my cup of tea type thing. It's not really up my street. So they are fantastic quality, and I think they'd be lovely to paint, but they all seem a bit similar to me. And like now, as somebody on the outside looking in anyway. Super Pokemon Man says the only thing 10th edition has done for me is finally give my Nids so much needed love. Yeah, I mean they're nice models, but they're not my taste. Speed Demon Painting says it's not just 9th edition with some tweaks. It mostly just makes all those old books worthless in one fell swoop, while still mostly being the same game experience. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean about 9th with some tweaks in terms of the way to play. The fact that they've basically just like kind of like stopped you using all those books and started again is a different story. Samir saying no need to worry about 40k. I'm waiting on the return of the old world. Yeah, that interests me even less, mate, if I'm honest. Ariel says, I wouldn't mind it at all if you don't touch that tenth that much. I mean, it's kind of frustrating because it's one of those things where it's the most popular game in the world. I'd love to be more interested in it, to at least have an opinion on it, really. But I just find it hard. I always feel like every time I try and get my foot in the door with it, it's always more difficult than it needs to be. It's kind of how I feel about it. James is saying Kickstarter's a hell of a drug, isn't it? I was all in on Dungeon Saga Origins and now just realised I've not thought about that for a month. 100%, mate. I know what you mean. It says if there are cards with characters on in other languages, that's an ideal crafting material for kids. There is that as well, mate. Yeah. Yeah, and Shane saying apart from the B ones, the other minis went together really well. I'd agree, mate. VG saying I finally got me running on Friday. The guy's a ball of energy. James is saying we're doing the painting showcase challenge tonight. Yeah, I'm going to push it back into next week, mate. I'm going to knock the stream off in the next sort of like 10-15 minutes anyway. So it's only fair to people to give them the proper amount of time and space. John says I picked up some post-apocalyptic 28mm Mad Max style figures from Crooked Dice. They look really nice. Jez is saying John, Crooked Dice minis are lovely. Super Pumpkin Man says, well, we can at least get the June challenge theme. Granted, I plan on painting either sci-fi or water themed stuff all summer long, despite the painting challenge. So I will give you the June painting challenge, and I'll give you the dates as well. Luke says, can we get in a late entry for next week's? Go on then, mate. If you've got one, I will allow it. Seems it's you. So painting challenge for June starts today, and you have 1, 2, 3. You have 1, 2, 3. You have 4 weeks. So the deadline is July the 2nd, Sunday, July the 2nd, and we will do the live stream on Monday the 3rd of July. Let me just double check, because I've got some holidays and stuff coming up. I'm just making sure I'm not away for that. No, I'm at home, not away at that time. So yeah, July the 3rd will be the stream. So you've got until July the 3rd to get you in. And I think what we'll do is we'll keep it very topical. We will do for June. We will do Summer of Sci-Fi. So because Shatterpoint's just launched, we're going to have loads of people painting Shatterpoint stuff. We've got 10th edition coming out very soon. We're going to have loads of people painting 40k and bits and pieces for that. Let's do the Summer of Sci-Fi and let's have that for June. So it doesn't really matter whatever. If you want to paint something and it doesn't really fit into that, think about how it fits into the summer theme. You can see I painted it during the summer. I sat outside, the sun was shining when I painted it. I've put some bright colours in it, something like that. But we'll have Summer of Sci-Fi. There you go. That will be that. That will be this month's stuff. This month's challenge. John says he's busy painting a 2,000 point Death Guard army at the minute. Wow, nice one. Luke saying not a fan of Tyranids now. That's heresy. They've never really been my thing, mate. I'll be honest. I just, the idea of painting loads and loads of them just does not fill me with excitement. Shane saying the only thing GW could tweak my interest would be if they brought back Epic as hinted in the last few months. I would say keep your eyes peeled for an Epic style game, but maybe not from GW. So there you go. VG says GW could put the burning of Lighthouse in Alexandria to shame them with the amount of books and make redundant every 3 years. VG saying Crooked Dice Stand was pretty cool. Oh, I didn't even see it, man. I didn't even see it. Just saying I might get more stuff painted. Got a TV job, but it's actually up here. Long days though. We need to grab a coffee again, mate. I had a good old natter when I came to yours for a cup of coffee. We need to do that again. I'm not good at keeping in touch with people, mate. So give me a nudge. Yeah, Summer of Sight. VJ says, did GW say anything about Epic, or was that for some fever dream? Yeah, they've not said anything about it, mate. Tasty Brain Drain saying, yeah, I can paint you the droid in the Imperial Specialist pack. Samir saying, love the next challenge. Maybe I'll paint my first Space Marine. There you go. James says, might try and paint him in this one. Go on, mate, do it. Get the paints out. Super Pumpkin Man says, I guess Andy's just a fan of the way I paint Tyranids. Do you know what, mate? I appreciate the Tyranid models. I think some of them are fantastic. they would not be an army I would choose for the sheer volume of stuff that has to be painted. That's what puts me off. I'm a bit like that with orcs, to be fair, as well. Like, I like orcs, but I could never paint like sort of that amount of volume stuff. Somebody is saying, "Oh my God, Matic's making epic game." Rumor has it Andy said so. Yeah, don't quote me on that one, mate. I'm not talking about Matic. So there you go. Just to kind of how can I put this? Yeah, just to put some water on that fire before you got excited. Let me just say I have heard stuff, but not from there. Jez is saying fantasy was often lumped in with sci-fi till the late 60s, really. Of course it is, mate. Star Wars is sci-fi fantasy, isn't it? So there you go. James is saying a Miami Beach Space Marine, perhaps. That one will do it, mate, yeah. Luke's saying I got given previous version of Kings of War rulebook and reading through it, I am very tempted. Abyssal Dwarfs. It's not a bad choice, mate. Jez, thank you very much, mate. Yeah, give us a nudge. Something Zingbo, sorry, saying GW dropped a not too subtle hint about Epic at Warhammer Fest. Okay. And Andrew says GW didn't say anything about Epic. It was just a teaser trailer. Right, which some think is Epic. Thumbnail says, where do we submit the painting contest? Is it a contest submission? So for those that are new here, it's not a contest, it is just a painting challenge. The idea is to give you an unusual theme or a different theme to inspire you to pick up a paintbrush. And then when you're finished, send me a picture of the finished miniature to my email address, which is blackjackllegacy@gmail.com, and we show them off every month, everybody's submissions. We should have been doing tonight's. We should have been doing this month's tonight, but I've been rabbiting away that much. I didn't notice the time, and I want to make sure I give time because there's a whole host. How many is the 1, 2? There's 16. The 16 people submitted them this month, and I don't want to rush through them and just kind of go, oh, so and so did this, so and so did this. So we'll show them off next week and really kind of give them the time and the airtime they deserve. John saying, I bought my Death Guard army pre-assembled and primed second-hand from Troll Trader. That's not a bad way to do it, that, mate, is it? Samir saying, would love to see an Epic-style game from any manufacturer. Yeah. Jess is saying, see, that's why mini-agnostic games are good. You can chuck orcs and Tyranids in Stargrave. I use these games as an excuse, really. There is that, mate, as well, yeah. Lucian, remind me tomorrow to connect you with AJ Van Ryder. Thank you, mate. I do appreciate that, and I will be in touch. I'm sorry we never got a chance to catch up, mate. I walked into the press event on Thursday, and it was a bit overwhelming, if I'm honest, mate. Everything was really tightly packed. I couldn't really kind of get around. I felt a bit like sort of obliged to talk to the different companies, even if I wasn't interested, because I was so close to them, like face to face. I saw you in the corner. I saw you were in mid-conversation, and I thought, I'll not interrupt them. It's not fair. And I kind of came back, and you were still chatting. And then I went, you know what it is? I'm just going to go back to the hotel. I'm going to go and have a beer. So I went back to the hotel and then ended up sitting chatting with the guys from on Tabletop and never kind of came back over. So sorry I didn't get a chance, mate. And then as the weekend went on, you were obviously full of busy as well, work stuff. Obviously, briefly saw you at the Mantic stand. Saw you in the pub as well, and I meant to come back and then got sidetracked with the conversation and didn't come back to chat to you. So yeah, it wasn't personal, mate. I'm just really sorry we didn't get across paths. Yeah, thumbnails are saying, sweet, challenge, the best kind of contest. Yeah, maybe I'll paint something for Majestic 13, which Uncle Atom and Vincy V just released. I saw that, mate. I don't know much about the game, but good to see them releasing more stuff. Luke said, I did not even play a game and headed off Saturday afternoon to listen to FA Cup in the car. I was shattered. I ended up watching the FA Cup as well because I wasn't very well, so I was back in my room at the hotel, so I ended up watching the Cup final as well. John says, which hotel were you in? I was in the Genton Hotel at Resorts World. Or Genton. I always say Genton, but I think it's Genton actually. And Sean saying, right off to bed, up at 5 for a 2-hour drive to work. Great evenings chat as always. Looking forward to more great chat and content. Me too, mate. And I think on that note, it's probably as good a time as any to end the chat tonight as well. So what I will say is thank you everybody that's been in tonight. It's always nice to have you friendly folks in. If you're not a subscriber, please do consider clicking the subscribe button. It always helps. If you want to give if you want to give a thumbs up as well, that always helps as well. If you would like to check out my my Patreon and support me in continuing to be able to do this full time and talk about them smaller games that don't always get the airtime, that way I don't need to rely upon kind of advertising revenue from getting thousands and thousands of clicks. I can support it by a community-led way. That's the way I try and do it. So please do check out my Patreon as well. And take care, folks. VJ, enjoy your time abroad, mate. And to everybody else, I will see you during the week, in and around on the interwebs, and next Monday for the live stream as well. So take care, folks. And I'll see you next time.